Welcome to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I am the host, Attorney John Khosravi, and I practice U.S. immigration law exclusively. For more information about the program, please visit www.immigrationlawyerspodcast.com. Please note that this recording is informational only and does not constitute legal advice. Please consult with a licensed attorney for specific legal guidance that suits your case. Also, this recording is copyrighted and written permission is required for rebroadcasting. For more information about me, please visit www.jqqlaw.com. Hi, welcome to episode 51 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. This is a recap of the immigration news and events from July 24th to July 30th. Luckily, there wasn't as much immigration news coming in from the administration, more than usual anyways. So focus of this podcast is going to be more for practical stuff I've seen in my practice and I've had to deal with. But a little bit of news first, as always. The Massachusetts Supreme Court made a decision that local police in that state are not to abide by federal immigration holds. This is wonderful news that state decided that this police force should not be federalized and to pursue federal immigration laws. This is really good for community relations for the cities in that state, and it's a proper thing to do in those kind of cases. Now, the person that did the lawsuit to challenge immigration detainers was convicted of a felony, or I think was in the process of being, I believe was convicted of a felony. So there are some issues if a person is a felon. You hear these worst case scenarios in the news of a person that's been deported 17 times, who's committed almost committed murder, attempted murder, and armed robbery, all this kind of stuff. Those, I mean, maybe they should be held, but but those are, I really think those are few and far between. What it looks like is the administration is going after people who got parking tickets or pull over, driving without a license. All these kind of so-called crimes that that cause families to be extremely disrupted, businesses to be disrupted, and that's the worry that's happening with this federalization of police forces in other states. So I'm very happy in general that the Massachusetts Supreme Court set the tone of state responses to this, and hopefully some 10th Amendment rights go and states push back against this federal encroachment. One thing that's pretty much happening, and I don't practice an immigration course, but I hear all the time, is that prosecutorial discretion is pretty much on hold right now. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has really brought out the big guns when it comes to all sorts of extreme policing measures, whether it's removing prosecutorial discretion, increasing asset forfeiture, having prosecutors in criminal and all sorts of other types of cases, including immigration, bring out the big guns and not help people or work with people to create a resolution that's better for everybody. So, hopefully his reign of terror will end soon, but we'll see. There's talk about him taking the place of the now gone Department of Homeland Security head, General Kelly, who went to become Chief of Staff for President Trump. If he comes head of DHS, it was scary, and it is scary that he's the Attorney General of the country, but going to DHS isn't going to be much better. So we're in for quite a roller coaster ride in the next couple of years as these people hop from one role to another. Now, the U.S. legislator passed through more sanctions against Russia. Now, this Putin narrative of his control over the elections, I really believe it's overblown, and it's coming out that it probably is. Now, did they mess around with U.S. politics? Yeah, probably, just as we mess around with their politics, just like every country that can mess around with U.S. politics. But to the extent they're saying that they gave the election up and all this kind of stuff, that seems overblown. But the response is not good, because these people that are pushing sanctions against Russia are pushing bad relations between two countries that are extremely powerful and have volatile issues that can really erupt and have international consequences, very dire consequences. So it's very disappointing to see that. But in response, President Putin of Russia said they're going to kick out 700 or so diplomats, U.S. diplomats from that country. And this is a big problem for immigration, because if you are a person that's dealt with consular processing in Russia, the embassies there, you already know the difficult issues that exist. It's how the consular posts over there make mistakes with cases. They want additional documents that aren't necessary. There are delays and sometimes administrative processing. Having less staff to deal with these cases, it's only a negative for our immigrant clients. So that was very disappointing to see that this tit-for-tat issue is happening, sanctions and pushback and this and that, when really it should be peace and prosperity and friendship between the two countries. Moving on, USCIS introduced a new mobile app for people that are renewing their I-90, their green card renewal. The app allows people to upload their documents as well to it. Now, should someone use this? I highly doubt they should. With USCIS, the age-old system of mailing in is the way to go. I don't recommend using online systems. That's just my thing. It might be different for other people. But there's way too much room for error whenever new systems come into play. But that does exist, especially for people that are going to be doing their own green card renewals. The laptop ban. So there was this period of time where flights coming directly to the United States were from the Middle East were prevented from having people bring big electronic devices on board the plane, such as laptops. Well, they officially ended that program this week. So now, if you are flying in and out, Turkish Airlines, Qatar Airlines, Dubai Airlines, and all those UAE carriers that a lot of people use are permitted now to bring their laptop on board. So that's a lifesaver, going through a long-haul direct flight like that, 12-hour flight. Not having any form of electronic would drive you crazy. Now, the good thing is these new airplanes have great televisions and all those kind of systems, but especially if you're going to be doing work, not being able to bring your laptop is horrible, and it pushes back your schedule tremendously. Now, I'm part of a couple different Facebook groups that relate to immigration, and one of the groups, someone posted a question saying, when they were at the ALA conference, someone gave an example of a marriage case when the foreign national came on the visa waiver expired, and then did adjustment of status with the immediate relative. When they entered the adjustment of status interview, they were picked up by ICE and deported immediately. Now, this is a terrifying situation, as most of you also do marriage adjustment cases for people that enter on the visa waiver program. If there's an expiration date and this happens, I've had cases like this. I've done it before over the last couple of years. I've never had a problem, but it's really scary to know that this potentially may happen. I believe they said that this happened in Washington State, which is Ninth Circuit territory, which is even scary. I would have expected from other circuit areas, but within the Ninth Circuit and the West Coast having this happening is very scary. So if someone does enter the United States on the visa waiver program, then decides to get married, filing before the 90-day window is key. You don't want that to go over, but maybe in that case it was like that too. They filed before the 90 days ended. I'm not sure. It's just a rumor that's been corroborated, but I still don't have any of the main details corroborated for myself based on seeing something written. If you have heard of this or seen it or know more about it, please email me and let me know. This is an amazingly bad situation if people are getting picked up by ICE when they're going for an adjustment interview when they're married to a U.S. citizen doing immediate relative adjustment. My email is info@jqqlaw.com. Another thing that's come up, and we talk a lot about these Facebook sites, and it's funny, whenever an issue comes up, I hear it all over the place. I had multiple clients call me on this, and that's the issue of getting a green card stamp in your passport when your other green card is lost or expired or something like that. So there are cases, or when someone goes for a green card marriage adjustment interview, they're approved, but they need to travel between the time the interview is approved and the time the green card is sent to the applicant. So in my experience in Los Angeles, they're not very flexible of giving the green card stamp unless extreme necessity is shown. For example, I've been down to the InfoPass Center, the lobby area where they would give the stamp for cases where the green card interview happened, we got the approval letter, and the applicant needed to travel quickly. They were unwilling to give the green card stamp their passport in that kind of situation. They didn't see the urgency of it. However, I started talking with immigration attorneys from other states, Oklahoma, Michigan, all over the place, and they said their field offices were really very flexible, and if someone did have a situation where they needed a green card stamp, they're flexible in giving it, not requiring high standards, very high standards of proof, maybe business need or maybe emergency need, before giving them and allowing them to live their lives and hold them over until they get the actual green card. So that's something very interesting. I'd like to see how your field offices are dealing with this. So Los Angeles, for me, has not been flexible. Maybe for other it has. Let me know how you dealt with this. My email is info@jqqlaw.com. This is really something that needs to have standard procedure to the benefit of applicants, where they're more flexible in giving this green card stamp. Now, I remember going to a district office meeting, and they said they were afraid of constantly giving these green card stamps because it's essentially giving a person a green card. So they're very careful about giving it. But nonetheless, it's such a inconvenience, a serious inconvenience for people when they can't get it, that I think the district offices need to be more flexible, and the field offices should grant these green card stamps more easily. If someone brings proof that they're a green card holder, shouldn't. If they can prove it and it shows in the system and the passport shows to be that person's passport, I don't see a reason why they should be so strict about it. One thing that's been on my mind for a long time, and finally a case came that forced me to go further and look at it, is the cases where a person wants to request the I-131 reentry permit. Now, a reentry permit requires an additional biometrics fee if you're above 14 years of age or below 79. However, there's no biometrics fee if you're over the age of 79 or under the age of 14. But what does that mean? Does that mean if someone is, for example, 85, does that mean they don't have to go and do biometrics? I had my first case come up where a gentleman was going to fly in temporarily to file the I-130 because they have to physically be in the U.S. And I thought potentially because they don't have to pay the reentry permit fee, they could just come, file it, and then leave, and then have the reentry permit mailed to them. Well, I kept doing research. I couldn't really find something on it, and I could do a little more research from here and there. But from my original sources I usually check, I couldn't find an answer, and I asked around in a lot of different places. Eventually, one person told me no, they still need to go to the reentry permit appointment. They don't just need to pay the fee. They have to sign and do other stuff, take pictures, but they have to attend that. So unfortunately, I think that's the case, and my client's going to have to stay in the U.S. for at least 4 to 5 weeks until they get the appointment notice. What's interesting thing is USCIS updated its policy manual for naturalization cases, saying that all naturalization applicants have to undergo biometrics appointments. Now, that includes all ages, and again, my goal was if someone has a higher age or not up there, they don't need to do these biometrics appointments. And one of the main reasons that I've had clients have this issue is the older they get, especially if they worked in labor or hard labor when they were growing up, when they were workers, their fingerprints disappear. And what happens in these kind of cases is that the person goes for a first biometrics appointment. This happened to my grandma actually too, and they do their fingerprints and it doesn't come up. Then they have to go back. And in her case, this was around 15 years ago when she had citizenship. She went a third time until they said, okay, we can't get your fingerprints and we're just going to let you go without doing the fingerprints portion of the biometrics. Nowadays, sometimes I'll get notices when this happens where they'll ask the person to get police certificates from all the places they live just to confirm, which is a big, big hassle, especially if someone lives abroad in certain countries. So the biometrics for people above age is such a big inconvenience. That's not one of those things that I wish they'd be more flexible on. So with regards to my office, what's going on? Well, one thing is I got another National Advocates Top 40 Under 40 award. Now it says, congratulations, we are pleased to inform you of your selection to receive this invitation for membership into the National Advocates Top 40 Under 40 in the state of California. It doesn't reference immigration law. The one they sent last year did say it's for immigration lawyers, Top 40 Under 40. But do you guys get this too? Is it really only 40 people that they picking these? Or is this a scam or what's going on? I imagine, because I get a lot of these different ones, it is a good way to make money by these organizations. I just don't know to verify it. But I imagine they probably send it to potentially hundreds of people, and whoever pays ends up being under the 40. But let me know if you got these as well too. I want to do my own count to see how many immigration lawyers in California at least got one of these notices. So that'll be interesting to see. The first time I ever got one was from the National Advocates thing a couple years ago, and I paid the money and I got the plaque. The main reason I did is because on their website, if you pay, they'll allow you to put your website URL on there. And that link back to me was worth it because it helped my Google rankings, the fact that I have another reputable site that is linking back to me. So it was worth, I don't know, $300. I didn't renew it, or at least this is the renewal now, and I'm like, should I do it, should I not do it? I'm erring on the side of not doing it. I mean, it's not too expensive, but at the same time, I don't know how serious it is, so it's something I'll think about. But there's 3 or 4 other ones they send every year saying, welcome, you won this, you won this. I did Super Lawyers. I got that this year as a rising star, and I did pay the additional fee, so the minimum additional fee, so I could be on their website because the SEO value of that is really high, so it was worth it. And I recommend if you get it for the SEO purposes to do the same. But that was interesting. I want to see if you guys get this. It's a funny thing they started this. It's a good hustle. Definitely as something I would start, but a legit one for immigration attorneys once I had more time, really recognizing the standout immigration attorneys that are really making a difference in our field. And I'm kind of in a position to be able to do that just with this and all the networking I do and really knowing what's going on the ground. I guess it would just be for California too, because I don't know too much of other states. But the more I do this, the more I'm meeting everyone from all over the place. So that'll be an interesting thing to do. Finally, a lot of the activities I'm doing with regards to marketing is really working. So I do recommend if you want more business, just follow my social media and all that, and do the same. It does pay off in the long run. But one thing, the upside of that and the downside is the more clients you get, the less time you have, and the more time becomes precious. Up till now, it's been 3.5 years I've had my own firm. If someone came in for a consultation, they paid it, I would give them unlimited access to me until they finally pulled the trigger and decided on a case. It usually meant an extra maybe half an hour to 45 minutes per case of time, where they would call me and follow up, or if it was an EB1, they would send me documents to review, or if they were doing L1, they would work out a deal and send me their thoughts on send me the documents, see what my thoughts on that are. And I was flexible on that, but it's gotten to the point this month where I don't even have time to do that. There's no time during my day when it's my office hours to be able to give additional hours and hours of work. In particular on E2 cases that I get, where these are regular people, not necessarily full businessmen or business people, and they're in the U.S. and they're just trying to figure out what's going on. After that initial consultation, it seems like there's hours and hours of additional follow-up with detailed legal help that require me to do additional research, review documents. And today I was a little fast. I'm translating a Persian phrase into English, but I wasn't the kindness that I usually have with clients, just because I was frustrated amount of work I had. I was a little hasty, or I should say I was a little hasty with a client in my response when he asked me for help on a certain thing, and it wasn't my client yet, it was just a consultation, and they've been asking for help for months and months, and the case hasn't moved forward. And out of frustration, I didn't act at 100%. So instead of doing that, I'm instituting a program where after the initial consultation, and I'm still going to do a flat fee, but some sort of hourly fee has to be instituted until they finally make the decision to go ahead. And I guess that hourly would be cut out from the total flat fee rate that I would have quoted them towards the end of the consultation or afterwards. And I think that may be the way to go to allow me to have the time to give the full attention they need without putting all that pressure on me. And alongside with that, having help matters. And I've always talked about my issues with hiring people and being a solo, but when I see these kind of things happen, and I don't want my relationship with my clients to have any ounce of negativity, bringing aboard staff is really important. And I had I had a coffee with another attorney who was partner for several big law firms and started his own firm like 30 years ago. And what he did when he went solo is he dragged his feet to not hire somebody, but when he finally did, he tapped into a network of mothers, attorneys that when they became mothers, went out of the workplace, were with their children, and then became semi-retired. They were interested still in practicing law, and they were top-notch attorneys, best schools, pedigree and skills and all that, but they wanted to spend their time with their children and have some flexibility. Immigration is such a wonderful field for that, and I really recommend that. When I go to law schools, I tell people, if you want to see your children have some flexibility in time, immigration is a great area of law to be in. So he did that. He hired a mother or two and then just keep growing that, and had a part-time group of new mothers that were helping him. So that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to hire a mother to work part-time, see how that works, grow it, learn how to manage people. That's a new skill I'm going to have to really learn and pay attention to. But it'll help me alleviate a lot of the stress I'm feeling from the amount of work happening and the research that needs to be done and client management, all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to hear your experiences with this, with hiring the first person you hired, using unorthodox or different ways of hiring people, or hiring different groups of people that it's not the first thing that pops up in your head. Normally people probably think hire a new graduate or hire a lateral or something like that, or a paralegal. But this is a really interesting thought, to hire somebody that's a mother to help out. And I think it's really good. It allows the mother to be with the child, at the same time make a financial gain that could help the family. And this is on a side note, it's not related to immigration. The older I get, I always think about what kind of groups I could help, or if I'm going to do pro bono, what group would I help, or if I'm going to give money to a group. And I realize a lot of the problems we have in society are because of the way people treat their children. Those children grow up to be messed up, frankly, or don't know how to deal with their issues properly. So if we have mothers that are going to have the time, or who can have the ability and can help them to spend time with their children and be able to support them properly, that's really got to be the way to go. So I think that's a really good group to focus on. That's both skilled, helpful, and could, it's kind of like giving back to society in that way. I saw this video. It was very disturbing that in an East Asian country, parents wanted to go to a public swimming pool and their kid was being a hassle or they didn't want to pay attention to him. So they took like, I don't know, it was like a 5-year-old kid and they put him in a locker and they kept him there and then came back. They had it on video. It was very disturbing. I'm sorry to put this image in your head, but it's just amazing what thoughtless people could do. That just one incident, and I'm sure the parents are that stupid, they probably did much dumber things to the kid. But one incident of being locked in a locker for 5 hours or 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it was, that's going to scar the kid for the rest of his life. He's going to have all sorts of issues coping with drama, his parents, family, all that kind of stuff. And it just created so much pain in the world just because some idiot parents wanted to go to a pool. So if there are good parents that want to be with their kids, but at the same time need financial support, and I'm not saying if you can't be with the kids, the bad thing is the situation, with life that you sometimes have to work and not be there. But if there is a way to distribute that so they can be with the family and help the family financially, it seems like a great way to go. And so that's what I'm going to embark on doing when it comes to hiring somebody, at least in the near term, until I figure out what to do next. Thank you so much for listening to episode 51 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. It was a wonderful week, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye-bye.